Yeah.
Well, one of the things that excited me so much about the first animation test that Ubisoft did 2 years ago was that it provided a glimpse of how the kind of fluid series of movements that you could do in a 2D game like Prince of Persia 1 could be possible in 3D. And I think it hadn't been done yet because most 3D action-adventure games, you do a move, and then you do another move, and you really have to think in terms of separate animations, and whether they're motion captured or hand animated. Often you end up with animations that look really good independently, but they don't flow together in the same way that that 2D Prince of Persia 1 did.
Yeah.
And
we wanted to transpose that fluidity of 2D in a 3D environment. That's why pretty soon in the project we implemented the walls as a ingredient of gameplay. So really wanted to go from the side scrolling, where you can basically interact with everything, and put that on a 3D scale, and everything is a place to play. And also something we said to the team pretty earlier, said early in the development, is if you can see it, you can play with it. That was really a motto we give to everybody, and in fact it does show in the game. I mean, everything is interactive, and not only you don't pick up stuff, but you use your abilities, your action as a character, and you can use that everywhere.
Yeah, the prince is not a guy who can pick up an object and examine it and put it in his pocket. That's not part of the gameplay. But he is a guy who can jump off of a balcony and grab onto a flagpole, swing around it, and then run and grab onto a ledge on the opposite side. So we built a palace that provides a lot of opportunities for that kind of gameplay.
Yeah, so the way we designed it, at first we tried to come up with the elements of gameplay instead of action. So we said to ourselves, okay, what are cool architectural elements that you can play with? There are columns, there are the bars, there's like the walls, and then we come up with a bunch of actions with those ingredients, with those architectural elements. That's why it's the levels and the action are really tied up. It's all the transitions between all those actions, and make sure that you don't cut. And, other games I've tried it, and I think you can feel those actions. You can really feel that there's the walk, there's the run, there's the jump, but together they don't really fit, and you have, each time you see the character stop between those actions, and we wanted to make sure that with the thumbstick, every time you press it, there's something. Every time you press X, there's something happening, and there's no really the transition between the two are really, really, really fluid.
I mean, in real life, if you were fighting 5 guys at once and you just hit one with your sword and then another one was coming up behind you, you wouldn't come back to your ready position, turn around, and then and face the other guy and then hit him. After you just completed your move, you kind of turn around, you do whatever it takes to get there. You take the straightest path between 2 points and hit the guy behind you. So to do that with a controller, the player should just have to point the analog stick at the guy he wants to hit and hit the attack button. And in order to make that happen realistically or fluidly, that meant that the animator had to come up with multiple possible linking animations, depending on exactly where in a 180-degree circle the two opponents were. And that's true for all the animations in the game. You can get from one to the other in a number of ways, which the player doesn't have to worry about, because you learn which button does which thing, and then at that point, all the player has to think about is the situation. Okay, what do I want to do? Okay, I want to hit with my sword, or I want to jump. I know which button does that. But as to how to get there, that could be one of 10 or 15 different animations, depending on the situation.
Yeah, and the control is really organic, because you don't have to really think about what you're doing with your controller, because, like you said, the X or the square or whatever, it always does basically the same thing, and then it depends on the situation. So once you know in what situation you are, you just say, okay, now I want the attack. So I press square, and depending on how far I am from the enemy, I'll have a different animation. But I'm doing it just organically. Really, it's like, okay, there's somebody in my back and square and half. Oh, it's the animation 8, but for the player, it's just an attack.
Yeah, the player should be thinking about what he wants to do, not how he's going to do it.
Exactly. I mean, every situation is in fact kind of a puzzle. It's, it's like really, I'm stuck in a situation, an environment, and I know I got to open that door over there, and it's just how I'm gonna, play my character. It's almost like, playing on stage, and how I'm gonna go up there to open that door. And I'm taking the easiest example. It's not like there's only doors to open, but make sure everybody's understand. And it's really how I'm gonna play it, and I'm gonna use my environment. Oh, I see bars over there, or maybe but it's too high. All right, how can I go there? Oh, I use the wall and I rebound. Oh, and now I'm grabbing the pole. All right, is it left, right, and basically you go up but there's also some really nice 3D puzzle that we come up with. And there's the defense, system in the palace, the Azad's defense system, and we ask the player to really make it work, basically.
The prince rides a giant platform which he can control with 2 levers, and he's moving these axles into place, and it's kind of a magical / mechanical thing that's the sort of the beating heart of the palace's defense system. And
but we could have made it in 2D, but it's really the entire room that is the puzzle that you gotta play with. So it's a real, this time I think, a real 3D puzzle.
And that's an example of one of a few places in the game where we have a pure puzzle.
Yeah.
But in a sense, the entire game has a puzzle component in that even if it's just action, how do you get from down here to up there? The player has to think, okay, what can I do? Okay, there's a flagpole up there. There's a broken column. Mm-hmm. There's a ledge that looks like it might crumble if I step on it. And so by getting used to his own abilities, the player realizes what kind of acrobatic solutions he can find to get through these places which a normal person wouldn't be able to traverse.
And like in the 2 former Pop 1 and Prince of Persia 2, there's still some systematic gameplay ingredients. Like in the first one, you see, there was like not only booby traps but pressure plates, and you could recognize it. It's that's open. That opens the door, and so we got the same system, and like the bars. Each time the player sees a bar, say, okay, I know I can use it. Each time he sees a column, he knows, and even though sometimes we, because it's in the environment and the architecture, sometimes, there's like columns that you can play with, but there's no use for them. So it's the puzzle are which column I got to use to go there. So, but it's a bit systematic and hidden in the art direction.
Yeah, because with an action game where you want the player to become comfortable with the controller so that he's not stopping and thinking about each move. He's just, as with Prince of Persia 1, you get the rhythm and you're doing bam, 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 a whole series of moves. In order for that to be possible, the player has to be able to quickly recognize the elements in the game. So, for example, a bar that you can grab onto, a column that you can grab onto, these elements recur. And as Patrice just said, the combination of pressure plates and levers and gates, you learn to recognize these pressure plates so that if you're running along a wall and then you see a pressure plate, you can rebound off the wall, hit the pressure plate, bounce back, grab onto the ledge, and you can do that all with just purely instinctive controller reactions. So that's when you start to have the fun of feeling, I'm doing it. I'm the guy who's in this dangerous situation, and yet at the same time, all of these features of the levels have to be justified in terms of what the room is. Yeah. So a bar that you can grab onto could be a branch of a tree. It could be a flagpole that's actually got a flag hanging on it in a place where there would normally be a flag. And that way the decorations that make these levels of this Persian palace so beautiful are not just for decoration, they're actually playable.
Yeah.